I actually interviewed Manny as well, because like I thought it's criminal that nobody sort of talked about these things with him, you know? Yeah. The first album I did with Manny was an album called Fighting Demons with the Fluffy Jackets, and we recorded at Sun Studio. And to my eternal shame and regret, I didn't bring a video camera on that trip,
right?
Which I should have done. So the second album I did, I thought I'm not going to do the same mistake again. So I wanted to do a DVD. So the second album is actually called Something from Nothing from 2019. By the Fluffy Jackets, and then we recorded that at Manny's studio, and I brought the camera along, and we took some time in between sort of recordings to talk about all these sort of things, right?
And all these videos are on your website, aren't they?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I know, I've watched them.
And I thought, and the other thing about creating music nowadays is like people are going to put it out anyway, whether they like it or not. So I thought, why not put it out as well as free for everyone? Let's share these stories to the world, because I do think it contributes to music knowledge. It's almost like music education in many ways, you know.
Yeah.
Manny explained to me, and you know, he said that his favorite producer to work with was Roger Glover.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's some truth and side stories to that, but I think one of the reasons he said that was obviously because the albums turned out great. You know, there were 3 well-produced albums, and they landed Nazareth right in that sort of top 10 album charts.
Yeah.
But more than that, I think Manny also learned about creating music at that time. So he understood that there's different aspects to recording and releasing a good song. So the first one is you need to have a good song.
Yes.
You know, because a good song, you can make a ballad out of a good song, or you can make it into a rock song.
Mm-hmm.
The song has to be good.
Yes.
So that was his first and primary concern. And he worked and labored over songs, and some songs comes easily and other are hard, you know, it's like a birth, you know. But then the second part to making a song, Manny said, was the performance.
Yes.
And then we're talking like what we talked about is like Dan singing like he means it.
Yes.
And, you know, he said like, or guitar playing. And Manny was an ace on that, you know, like all his solos that he would do with me, we played in the studio and everything would be unique and one take.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't sort of record one thing. It's like, oh, that's a good melody, I'll do that again. He would do original. It's like he wanted it to be fresh and he wanted to fit the song. So like the first thing is the song, then is the performance, and the third thing is the actual engineering and the production. He says, well, that because the sound, like you did when you were young, you listened to a shitty old, you know, loudspeaker in your bed, like a 5, you know, little cone, right?
Yeah.
And the sound wouldn't be that great, but the engineering is obviously that made, you know, what made you be able to listen to the different parts of the song, like the bass versus the kick drum versus the, you know, guitar. So Manny, over a lifetime of music, he sort of nailed it down to those 3 things. You know, it's the song, the performance, and then the production and engineering.
Yeah.
So that's what he sort of took from Roger Glover, because he says Roger wasn't necessarily the best ears, but Roger was really good in getting the performances.
Yes.
And he because he knew the band, he had the balls to sort of say to Dan, that sucks, go and do it again. And I think he made them do 73 takes of Bad Bad Boy.
Wow.
Before he was happy with it. So that says something. So he, you know, and Manny then understood like, okay, to get these performances can be hard.
Yes.
Right? But then the third part is obviously they, and not many people know about Nazareth and those early albums, is that Geoff Emerick's, who was the Beatles engineer.
Yes.
He was the one who actually made the sound on all those records. So they took it down to AIR Studios.
Right.
So basically, Roger Glover got all the performances. He traveled down in the mobile down to AIR Studios, and Geoff Emmerich's was the one that sort of produced the sounds and sort of engineered that. And Manny was overjoyed at the time with that, because Manny's favorite band of all time is obviously the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, well, we couldn't have.
Yeah.
He made the best albums ever made. He says, so he made Nazareth. So what? I'm in heaven. So he was very happy about that.